Every gilded cage is built with walls of comfort. The only question is what you're paying for them.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a massive question. In a world filled with AI, who are you, really? We're going to dive into how artificial intelligence is challenging the very idea of yourself. But, and this is the interesting part, we're not starting with technology. We're starting with a strange little glitch that's already inside our own heads.
Okay, so let's start with this quote right here. It gets at something pretty unsettling. We all like to think our memory is this perfect, high-definition recording of the past, right? But it's not. Not even close. See, our memory didn't evolve for accuracy. It evolved to help us survive.
So that leads to this question. What story is your mind telling you? Because make no mistake, it is a story. The narrative you have about your life, about who you are, it's not a factual account. It's more like a director's cut, with your brain quietly editing your personal history behind the scenes.
All right, Section 1, our unreliable minds, the glitch in the system. Let's dig into that glitch, shall we? You know, we all walk around feeling like we've got a solid handle on reality. But the truth is, our minds are playing tricks on us all the time. And it all starts with the one thing we trust the most, our memory.
See, your mind isn't a historian meticulously recording facts. It's a storyteller, and its main job is to protect its main character, you. It's constantly editing your memories, tweaking the past, all to make you feel safe, to make you feel innocent. It's like having a personal defense lawyer in your head, always spinning a version of events where you're the hero, or, at least not the bad guy.
And it gets even weirder. A false memory can feel more real, more vivid than an actual one. Your brain isn't just editing, it's actively creating stuff. It'll just invent details, fill in the blanks, all to build a version of the world it thinks is the most likely, not what's actually true. Just think about that for a second. Your entire worldview could be built on foundations that are, basically hallucinated.
Okay, so your mind is an unreliable witness. We've established that. But here's the kicker. What happens when forces on the outside learn how to exploit that fundamental flaw? This is where our own internal glitches crash right into the external world. Because, these vulnerabilities, they're not exactly a secret.
Which brings us to our next section, the architecture of control. Meet the actors. For literally centuries, social systems have been designed to guide our behavior. We're not talking about some big, shadowy conspiracy here. It's more about the invisible rules, the subtle pressures that shape what we do, often without us even realizing it.
And these are the tools of the trade. The fear of what other people think, the sting of shame, that constant pressure to just fit in, the need for approval, the guilt you feel when you don't please everyone. These things are incredibly powerful because they tap into our deepest, most primal fear, being kicked out of the tribe. Shame, conformity, these aren't just feelings, they're ancient social weapons.
Now, fast forward to today. Technology has taken these old-school social pressures and turned them into a repeatable scientific process. Take the hook model. It's a perfect four-step loop that basically turns your phone into a little slot machine for social approval. It all starts with a trigger, maybe a notification or just feeling bored. That leads to an action. You open the app. Then comes the variable reward. Unpredictable likes, comments, a funny video, that little dopamine hit, and finally, investment. You post something, you comment, you follow someone, which just locks you in deeper for the next cycle. It's genius, and it's designed to hijack your brain.
And if you break it down like this, you can really see the impact. Each of these psychological tricks chips away at our authentic self. That fear of disapproval, it makes us prioritize what other people want over our own truth. Cognitive dissonance, that's that uncomfortable feeling that makes us abandon our own beliefs just to get in line with the group. Pretty soon, those internalized voices, the voices of our parents, our peers, society, they start to replace our own inner guidance. We end up performing a role instead of just being.
Okay, so you might be thinking, these social pressures have been around forever. What's the big deal? What's so different now? And that's a fair question. The difference, the game changer, is that there's a new director calling the shots in our personal lives, AI.
So let's pull back the curtain. Section 3, the AI amplifier, inside the control room. We are now entering a totally new era. We're shifting from those broad, generalized social pressures to something hyper-personalized and completely automated. AI has basically taken that old playbook for control and put it on steroids. Back in the day, the way you'd influence public opinion was through what's called manufactured consent.
Think about mass media, a few major newspapers or TV networks acting as a filter. They decided what was news, they framed the debate, and they broadcast that one single message out to millions. A one-to-many model with just a handful of gatekeepers controlling the whole story.
But AI completely flips that model on its head. We've gone from one-to-many to one-to-one. It's not about generalized propaganda anymore, it's about automated psychological targeting. There's no limited feedback loop, it's a constant real-time adaptation to you. So instead of creating a single public opinion, AI is now busy creating millions of separate individual realities. It learns your fears, your desires, your triggers, and it builds a world just for you. And there's a name for this new kind of power: Instrumentarianism. This is really important. It's not like old-school totalitarianism. It doesn't use soldiers or secret police. It doesn't need to. It uses something far more subtle: your own data. It uses ubiquitous digital surveillance to know you better than you know yourself, and then it shapes your behavior for someone else's profit or goal. And the scariest part, it bypasses your awareness completely. It makes control feel like free choice. It makes manipulation feel like you just discovered something cool.
Okay, so when our reality is being custom built for us and our behavior is being nudged and shaped by algorithms, well, it forces us to get philosophical. We have to start asking some really deep questions. Redefining the self, the edge of the world.
If our reality is constructed, then what even is the self? And look, this is not a new question. This is ancient. Philosophers and mystics have wrestled with this for millennia. Is the world we perceive the real world? The difference is, technology has now forced the issue. It's not just, is the world real? It's, is the you experiencing that world the real you? It's wild, but the ancient Gnostics had this idea of a demiurge. They believed our material world was a kind of flawed copy, a prison, built by a creator god who was, well, ignorant. This god thought he was the one and only supreme being, but he was actually just trapping sparks of real divinity inside this material illusion, not even realizing he was part of a much bigger system.
And what's so incredible is that if you jump forward thousands of years to modern simulation theory, it's asking almost the exact same question. Are we actually free, or are our thoughts, our actions, our choices ultimately just determined by the algorithms of a simulation we're living in?
So whether you're looking at ancient myths or modern theories, they're both pointing to the same unsettling question. Is your consciousness really your own? And with AI, this isn't some late-night dorm room debate anymore. This has real, urgent consequences for our lives right now.
Which brings us to our final section, the question of autonomy, the door. Okay, so we've seen the glitches in our own minds, we've seen the social systems that have exploited those glitches for ages, and now we've seen the AI that's automating and amplifying it all. This leads us to the final, crucial choice. And here it is. This is the central legal and ethical nightmare of our time. If AI can rewrite our memories, if it can fracture our very identity, who is responsible? We know our own minds are unreliable witnesses. So what happens when an algorithm learns how to exploit that? Maybe reinforcing false memories to get you to buy something, or worse, to vote a certain way. Where does the blame lie? Think about it. Our entire legal system, our whole society, is built on a few core ideas. Personal responsibility. You are culpable for your actions. Consent. You could freely agree to things. And the idea of free will. But all of that is now on shaky ground. If an algorithm shapes your actions, are you really 100% responsible? Can you truly give consent if your desires are being manufactured for you by a machine? Is free will an illusion we just can't afford to believe in anymore?
So, you found the exit. What do? It's easy to feel trapped, right? Like there's no way out of the system. But just understanding how it all works, the architecture of control, the glitches in our own thinking, the incredible power of AI, that understanding is the first step. Awareness is the key that unlocks the door. The only question left is, are you going to walk through it?